You're watching Beardown Sports, the best Chicago Bears content. Now buckle up and bear down.
Welcome back, Bears fans, and as always, bear down. Thanks for tuning in today. We've got Karl with us from the Thy and Smi show. I finally didn't screw it up for once. And he's also becoming a regular on the Bears Country podcast. I know all of you guys are familiar with that. So, Karl, why don't you introduce yourself? We're very excited to have you on today. A great guest, and I've been on a couple things with him. So go ahead, Karl.
Adam, thanks for the introduction. I'm very excited to be on your show, actually. So I discovered your content through the Bears Country podcast. And I remember before Dan with BCP reached out to me, it was yourself on with Samo. And then the next guest they had, I believe, was Adam Rank. So I followed you two guys and I told them, I felt the pressure because you pump out some great content. Adam Rank, obviously. But I am with the Thy and Smi Podcast. That's kind of my personal project with my co-host, Nick. We strive to release some content at least once a week. We don't do the in-depth specifics like you do on your channel. I think that you're much better at it, obviously. But what Nick and I especially wanted to do was just kind of speak from the heart, watch the games, react to them, and then as things happen, news breaks, whatever, we like to do a once-a-week show. And then like you touched on, I'm going to be with the Bears Country podcast at least once a week, doing their shows on Thursdays. We'll see if there's anything else changed with that, but yeah.
Very cool. What I consider one of the up-and-comers in Bears podcasting. So, guys, Thy and Smi right now doesn't have enough subscribers. So I'm going to ask you guys right now. He hasn't asked me to do this, but I'm going to say it's worth watching. And I know you guys love Bears content. So head over. I'm going to put the link in the description of the video. The link's in the description. So check out their podcast. Check out the YouTube channel. Go look at it. It doesn't hurt to subscribe. So hit that subscribe button. You'll be in for some more good Bears content. So please do that. All right. So today I'm excited to have you on because we're going to talk about Bears minicamp being over. And we're also going to hit on the players we're excited about because we know, actually, let's hit right off the bat. The Bears have signed three. Now I announced it yesterday on my channel, but I don't know if everybody's heard it yet. We've signed three more undrafted free agents. We've signed Tommy Sweeney, who's really a veteran tryout at the minicamp, but he was there for rookie minicamp. Tight end, he played last year with the Giants, but had a medical issue, a scare, we'll say, last year. Drafted by the Bills in 2020, played with them for 3 years, but very limited. Most of his time on the special teams. And then there's cornerback Leon Jones out of Arkansas State. And then there's defensive tackle Deshaun Mallory, who's a local product, played for Michigan State, but didn't really play. So he transferred to Arizona State, but he's from Illinois. So there's the excitement for a lot of people from him. So we've got those new undrafted free agents signed, combined with the 9 that we had before the mini camp started. So there's 12 plus our 5 rookies that we drafted. So we've got 17. Right off the bat, we're going to get into those. We're going to get into our top 10s. But Karl, the news about Tommy Sweeney, Leon Jones, Deshaun Mallory, what tips off your head? What comes off the top of your head right there when you hear about that?
Well, again, not too familiar with any of them, to be quite frank. But the player that I think could have the biggest impact moving forward would be Sweeney, the tight end. I think with Shane Waldron's offense, I've heard at least that 3 tight ends is a very regular thing. They like to even get a little bit creative. I think I've seen tight ends as like a fullback or something in that offense. So I think that the tight end 3 position is important, and I'd watch out for that name, Sweeney.
Yeah, it's unheard of that we're going to go into the season with 2 tight ends. That's not going to happen on any team, especially with their value on special teams and their value in Shane Waldron's offense. You're going to see 13 personnel at certain points where there's going to be 3 tight ends on the field. So I don't know if that will happen as much this year with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, romeodunze.
Yeah, you'd hope not.
It's hard to fit that in. And in fact, we know last year, Shane Waldron, when they drafted Jackson Smith and the Jigba, really didn't do many 13 personnel at all after that happened. And he was known for it a little bit more when they had DK Metcalf and, when they had 2 receivers. Now they had 3. They couldn't really limit that time. So we'll see what happens there. So, all right, let's get into it. Here's the new. So right now, as it sits, we have 84 players on the roster. Okay, and that's pretty normal for this time of year. You're going to see some additions coming up this next week as we get closer to minicamp. So here's the schedule. Let's go over this real quick. So here's the schedule. The key off-season dates, we just had the NFL schedule release is actually wrong. So I had this last week. So my apologies, guys. This is wrong. That's now going to be the 15th. So that's on Wednesday. That
I only saw that confirmed through the Rams, but I'm hoping that there's no tricks with that. I'm very eager for the 15th.
Yeah, the NFL actually announced that they're going to do it the 15th now. So the 15th
Beautiful.
Wednesday, that's going to happen. It was usually that first or the second Thursday of the month. So that's why everyone thought it was the 9th, but then they pushed it back. Who knows why? But they did push it back to the 15th. So that's wrong. So rookie minicamp, the second thing up there, May 10th through the 13th, that's done. The Bears only did it 2 days. They could have gone 3. They only did the 2, but I feel like it was very productive. And then Monday, which is today, well, actually, we're going to release this video. We're recording it Sunday, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Let the cat out of the bag. We're recording this on Mother's Day night. Happy Mother's Day for all the moms out there. But the rookie development program starts today, Monday. But that doesn't, you're not going to see anything on that because that's just the NFL releasing their development program for the rookies. The teams, basically carry that out. You won't see any of that. And then next week, Monday, Tuesday, the 20th, 21st, then Thursday, the 23rd, the following Tuesday and Wednesday, 28th, 29th, and then May 31st. Those are the off-season workout dates. Those are the dates you're going to see voluntary players come into the facility and working out together. There's going to be a lot of buzz around the Bears facility, around Hallis Hall for that. Just like you saw this last week, there's going to be a lot of excitement. And then mandatory minicamp, that's mandatory, obviously, as it says, June 4th through 6th, and then the big break until we get back for the end of July when training camp begins. So that's what you're going to see. And a lot of people want to see this right here. So this is where our offense stands now. As I said, we have 84 players on the roster. So you're going to see some additions. But remember, last year, Mercedes Lewis, Yannick Ngakoue, they didn't come in until really that last phase that I just showed on the last screen until the end of July when we signed them right before training camp. So you might see some of that happen again. In fact, you might see Mercedes Lewis being brought back in. And heaven forbid, I'm going to say it, you might see Yannick Ngakoue too. Everyone knows my love and affiliation for Yannick Ngakoue, but you might see him as well. So some of those things happen later on. You see those signings. Here's the defensive line. You see the new additions there, Deshaun Mallory. In orange, those are the undrafted free agents that came along later, as well as Deshaun Mallory's there at the bottom. He came on after minicamp. And then we'll go to the secondary. Leon Jones was added late. Carl Jones and Reddy Stewart were added before minicamps. Those are the three new undrafted free agents there on the secondary. And then here's the offensive playmakers. I don't know why it says playmakers, but there's the offensive playmakers. And Tommy Sweeney is added to the end there of the tight ends. So we have all that. All right. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, Carl. We brought you on for a reason. Let's talk some mini camp. Let's talk some Bears football. Let's talk some players that excite us. How closely did you follow mini camp? How close were you involved on that?
Not too close, if I'm being honest. It's been a little bit of a busy time over here in Vitalityville. But I am enjoying the pictures. I'm very much loving it out. The entire team is embracing the bear claw.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to say the least.
Yeah, all the stuff you hear on Twitter, all the people. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to admit, guys, I didn't love the bear claw. I think it's kind of immature, but that doesn't matter what I think. What I think doesn't matter 90% of the time. What changed it for me right after I actually said on Twitter, not a big fan of the bear claw. I didn't make a big scene, a big fuss over it. I just said I'm not really a big fan of this. It's on response to someone else, and people, of course, run away with that stuff. But then that afternoon, I was hanging out with my little girls, and I told them, what do you think about this bear claw? And I showed them some videos, and I showed them pictures of Caleb Williams doing that. And they've gotten into the bear down thing. They've gotten into bear down. They love it. I've got a little video or a voice recording of them saying bear down. It was a lot of fun. And the rest of the day, after I showed them the bear claw, they're chasing each other around the house going,
That's
and
awesome.
going bear down. So even if we old farts, even if the guys like me that are in our 40s or even the 50s and 60-year-old guys think it's a little bit corny, who cares if it's corny? The kids love it, and that's all that matters. It's caught on. It is full on. Like you said, Carl, the pictures of the whole team, the entire roster there at minicamp.
If you've got the coach and the GM together in harmony doing that, I think it's going to stick.
Yeah, it's here to stay. It's done.
Yeah.
We're done for. So the bear claw is here. So and I noticed. Did you notice on the pictures that you were seeing there that Ryan Poles has lost some weight? Did you see that?
Oh man, his transformation from the day I think he looked fine the day he stepped in, but man,
Sure.
that guy is just like Pace,
He
taking
looks
advantage
lean.
of that brand new facility. He's looking awesome.
Yeah, I mean his legs alone. I mean he looks. I think he's skinnier than me. And I'm not a skinny man by any means. That's not what I'm trying to say. But he was an offensive lineman. I think he's skinnier than I am.
Yeah, I watched some sort of interview that included Kyle Long, and Kyle was asked about Poles because they were both with the Chiefs at a certain point in time, and he said that he didn't have too much of a direct, relationship with Poles, but he respected the heck out of him, and he referenced that he was like a workout freak. So
Yeah.
I think after his life in the NFL, I don't even think it was that long, he really said, "Okay, I need to chase my dreams, and at the same time, I need to make sure that I stay healthy." So,
yeah, I need to do something. This isn't the point of this podcast, guys, but I need to get my butt in gear. I think I'm at the heaviest weight I've ever been in my life. I was a defensive end in high school. I'm 6'2". I'm just short of 6'2". So if you're to take me to the combine, I'm one of those guys they'd list as 6'2", but I'm really 6'1" and 5/8. So that's
I like it. Okay.
But
Yeah.
All right, getting back on track. My bad. We're here to talk Bears football. So we're gonna do kind of a format where we're gonna go back and forth and talk about our top 10 guys. And we're gonna start with number 1. We're not gonna leave you in suspense. We're gonna talk about the guys that we are most excited about from this rookie class. Because as we said, there's 5 that basically are locked into the team. And then there's the undrafted free agents. And then there's some more signings that we just had. So out of those undrafted free agents, there's like 12. So let's give our top 10, Carl. Let's do a top 10 here today. And we'll list them below. Our top 10 of who we're most excited about and why. We'll talk about these players. Let's start off with you. Who's your number 1 rookie from this class that you're most excited about?
Yeah, and a stunning turn of events here. The most excited player and essentially the only player from this draft that matters. It's Caleb Williams. That guy, he already is showing how, charismatic he is. He's got essentially most of the team behind him. I'm going to be very interested to see what comes out when it's the voluntary workouts with the actual teammates and not just rookies and whatnot. But what it boils down to is if this quarterback is no good, this draft class could be considered no good. So it starts with him, it ends with him, and I think that he was one of those quarterbacks where you didn't just take him because you needed a quarterback. The Bears moved on from their current quarterback to take this player because he's got generational talent. I think it starts and stops with him, and obviously he's the player I'm most excited about.
Yeah, no shocker. He's my number 1 as well.
Really?
shocker to everyone out there. And as most of you guys know, I wasn't sold on Caleb Williams from day one. I wasn't the guy that was sold on him. I have to be won over. Now, I still need to be won over by his play on the field. But the more I've watched tape on him, the more I've watched him since we traded away Justin Fields and since he became the Bears quarterback. Basically, that day is when Caleb Williams became the Bears quarterback. I spent a lot more time and I learned a lot more things such as, 199 pass attempts while he was at USC on 3rd and 4th down, 0 interceptions, protecting the ball. I mean, stuff like that. It's winning me over as far as stat-based on paper because he didn't have the gaudy numbers like Jaden Daniels. He didn't have the Heisman year this last year, but those don't mean everything when you look into it. And there's a reason that he was the number 1 prospect and the highest touted prospect since, we'll say Trevor Lawrence, but really you can go even further back and say Andrew Luck, depending on who your analyst is, who you're listening to on that. But he's definitely the highest. So yeah, he's someone we wanted to take, not just someone we had to take because we were in desperation, just like you were talking about, Carl.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. I agree. I think that this prospect there's a lot more hype and reasonably so behind him, more so than Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence reminded me kind of like what Caleb Williams was, where 2 years ago, the year he won the Heisman, it was kind of like that with Lawrence, where he had like a national championship run. He was excellent in the actual games. And if he would have been drafted that year, much more hype. But then it kind of tailed off. But it's more of an Andrew Luck situation for me. And then I'm going to start trailing off here, so I'm going to stop myself. But are we going to be ending up moving to the second prospect that we're excited for?
We will in a minute. I mean,
Okay.
let's talk about Caleb as long as we want to, and then I'll hit mine. I'll do number 2 first.
Oh, before really short-term memory loss for me, I guess. But with Caleb, it's like you said, the more you get into it, the more time you spend on him. I keep seeing these clips, like essentially leaking out of him from this past year, even where these little things from the pocket will shock you. He reminds me of CJ Stroud with the Texans, where it's more of he stays in the pocket for as absolute long as he can. And then when he busts out, it's not to run, but it's to pass. And his success with that and just some of the things he does, it downright shocks me.
Yeah, there's the one play in particular. I don't remember which team they're playing, but he's rolling out to the left and he's buying time. He had a huge wide open lane. He could have run 20 yards down the field, and he threw it across his body all the way across the other side of the field for a 20, 25-yard gain. And it's like one of the most watched clips of his success. So he knows how to be a quarterback. He knows how to play within system. The more I watch on him, the more I love him, which is shocking to some people still on Twitter because they are convinced that I hate Caleb Williams, but it's not reality. I'm a huge Bears diehard fan, and I'm all in on Caleb now. I am all in on his character, his personality, just like you said, when he gets the whole team there, one of the big points when he had his press conference in Hallis Hall that I took from that was where he said, right now, I'm in here, I'm listening. If you want to be a great leader, you have to be a great follower first. And I thought that was
out of my mouth. Yep.
Very mature for him, very mature for his age, because a lot of number 1 overall pick, especially, is not just first round picks, but number 1 overall picks. They want to come in and say, I own this place. I was number 1 pick for a reason. I'm here to dominate. Watch me. Here I go. But to him, it was, I'm going to soak it up. And I think, I'm going to say it was Shane Waldron. I could be wrong on this. But yesterday or 2 days ago from when we released this, yesterday or 2 days ago, Shane Waldron said that he's advanced for where he is from when he's received the plays, from what he's been working on in the offseason, from the concepts they've given him. He's advanced was the word they used. So he is picking it up quickly. He's sharp. He's a studier. And if everyone remembers watching The Quarterback on Netflix with Pat Mahomes, that's what I'm envisioning when I hear that stuff. I envision him with his notebook, taking notes, like studying it, like in it, like this is his life. And he's proven that this is his entire life and his world revolves around it. So I'm very excited for the entire prospect of Caleb Williams.
Yeah, with the quarterback series, you truly see all of the quarterbacks, even Mariota, like they are very much into what they do for a living and they want to be the best they possibly can. But Mahomes is downright compulsive.
Yeah.
I mean, he would go end of the playoff game. He's got his notebook. He's watching film. So I sure hope that we get to see a Caleb Williams quarterback style video from Netflix or anyone anytime soon.
Yeah,
that would be,
I agree.
That would hit the spot.
All that stuff that we're going to eat that stuff up. The other thing I remember from minicamp, just coming to my head, and I don't remember which tight end it was. I know it was a tight end, but the story that's coming out that I heard today was that Caleb. Now, the first day you heard him say, I'm still trying to learn everyone's name. That's important to him. He wants to know everyone. He knows most of these guys aren't going to make the team. Realistically, he does.
Yeah.
And he wanted to know all their names. But one of the tight ends, and I don't remember which one it was, so I apologize for not knowing that. But one of the tight ends dropped a pass. And no, it wasn't number 88 on the viral video that went around. It was someone else. They dropped a pass, and Caleb went over to him and said, run it again. Let's do this again until you get it right. That's so cool to hear. This is minicamp.
Yeah.
These guys probably aren't going to make the team. And he says, let's go run it again. I want to do this again with you. Like, it was personalized. He's a leader, man. I couldn't. So I'm going to say from the beginning, I was more defending Justin Fields than I was ragging on Caleb Williams. And I do realize I went too far with some of the Caleb Williams stuff. But, man, if there was ever someone that he needed to come out and say, I'm going to prove you who I am, by my actions, by my deeds, he has won me over, like completely. I am a huge Caleb Williams fan. I'm buying his jersey. I said I wouldn't buy his jersey till he proved it on the field. I'm buying his jersey right now. It's being shipped to my house. That's what's going on. I'm getting a Caleb Williams jersey. So he has
just one. I know Bears fans they're trying to collect the Infinity Stones, get his throwback jersey, his orange, his white jersey. That like this thing is already hot commodity.
Didn't they say his jersey is the number one selling jersey now at all time, like or for the first release or something? What was this jersey sales?
It was like Caitlin Clark had it for a brief moment, and then as soon as it was confirmed Williams was going to the Bears, as if we didn't know, boom, immediately overtook that. So yeah.
Yeah, I bought myself the orange one because that's what color my Fields one was. I like my quarterback to be the orange one for some reason. But then I did get my 7-year-old. I got her a youth jersey of Caleb Williams too because she's loving the claw. And so
heck yeah.
Yeah, so we're good there. So I think everyone knows Caleb Williams should be number one. So he's both of our number one. And I don't think it's going to be a shocker. I'm going to guess that your number two is the same of mine because there's a neon light behind. There's a little light glowing that says "When in Rome."
Yeah, man. This wide receiver is special. It absolutely would not be a shocker if in any other draft Romeodunze was taken as the not first overall pick, but the first wide receiver of the draft. He is that good. He has DeAndre Hopkins-like ability with his ability to box out, catch the ball, adjust his body in midair. And another good comp for him, ironically, is Keenan Allen. So I think that the sky is the limit for this kid. I don't know if I'm willing to debate you on the punt return aspect, but I think that the Bears are going to be very, very willing to get the ball into Romeodunze's hands however they can because he's that dynamic and that special. It's a shame for this list that he can't be number one overall because he deserves to be, but this wide receiver is special.
Are you confirming that he's your number two as well?
Absolutely.
So what you said, I actually am going to take it a step farther. I'm going to say on certain drafts, he could have been the number one overall pick. Absolutely.
That is a little bold. I think that he's a top 5 lock in a lot of drafts. No debate.
You even see next year Luther Burden, who a lot of people might not know who that is yet. He's the wide receiver out of Missouri. Very talented, very quick.
He's a good player.
So you already see him being projected as a possible number one in next year's draft. I'm just saying if there wasn't an elite quarterback in that draft, because quarterbacks always dominate that number one. If it was a Kenny Pickett type of quarterback class, and the other problem is next year there's a solid defensive end class too. And they dominate number ones when quarterbacks don't. But if there wasn't a wide receiver, Rome is special. Rome, you threw a couple names out there. He's also compared to Devontae Adams. And I've already said, I'm starting to say this. I don't think there is a comp for Romeodunze. I think he's special. He doesn't. Now, I'm not going to be the Bears homer that says he's the greatest wide receiver of all time. He's going to go down as the next great thing, and no one's ever going to compare to him. I'm saying I think he has a unique game that's kind of a combination of what you're saying. Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, even Matt Eberflus, or not, it was Ryan Poles said he's a lot like DJ Moore, just taller. So he's just got unique abilities where he's not your big yak guy. He will get taken down, he'll get tackled, but he is a high point guy. And my goodness, you're going to see a quarterback where Caleb Williams, he can adjust his speed on a throw better than anybody else. That's one of the other things I learned about Caleb. He can adjust his speed. So most quarterbacks can have a variance of like 10 miles per hour difference in their throw when they're throwing it soft and when they're throwing a zip. Caleb Williams has about a 20-mile-an-hour difference, which is pretty dramatic, and he can be accurate with it. So instead of having to zip it in every time, if there's one of those plays where Rome is one-on-one down the field, he can throw more of a rainbow, bring it down on that 45-degree angle, bring it down on an even steeper angle, and Rome's going to be a basketball player out there, high pointing, getting a rebound basically, and he's going to be able to dominate 75% contested catch in college. And other guys who have had that are like your Jalen Waddles. They just dominate in the league when they come in because they can just muscle it away from the other guys. It gives me so much excitement to see Rome on this team because if we didn't have number one, if we didn't have the Panthers pick, and we only took Romeodunze, I think that excitement would be just as big in Chicago because he's that good of a player for the
like I said, just for the sake of the list, this list alone, it's a shame that he has to be number 2 because he deserves to be number 1. He is absolutely that good. And then just looking over some notes from the Beast, Dane Brugler had specifically in his, end of the report summary, he writes that Romeodunze projects as a true X receiver and has the skill level to elevate his quarterback's play. I always say that the quarterback is the biggest multiplier as far as elevating the talent around him. See CJ Stroud with the Texans. But my God, that's a huge compliment to say that a wide receiver can elevate the play of a quarterback.
Yeah, and that's something we've been lacking. I mean, everyone's worried because he had to sit out day 2 with a hamstring. It's rookie minicamp, and he's a lock for the team. They're just being safe with him. It's not.
If he had a runny nose, I don't think he'd be out there, man.
Exactly. It's not Kevin White 2.0, guys. Let's not panic. Let's not throw up the alarm.
Don't say that name now. We don't need to jinx anything, but
there's not an injury history. He's going to be he worked on the farm with his grandpa. He can take a lick. He can take a hit or two. He's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So I can't say enough about romeodunze. And he's from Vegas. He's from Henderson. Boom. Another perk for me. I don't know him.
He grew up as a Bears fan.
And he did.
Bears fan.
Devin Hester, especially. He loved Devin Hester.
And that's why I think that just out of pure emotion, just take all of the numbers away. I know that's hard for you, just kidding. But personally, emotionally, he's going to want to try and replicate that at least a little bit. And what I think a good comp for the scenario or the situation, not saying that this is the type of player he is or, is similar whatsoever, but I think of Steve Smith. Steve Smith was a lot for the Panthers. He was a later round draft pick who wasn't a surefire thing like a romeodunze is projected to be. But this player was good enough to find himself on the field when it mattered. And I think even in a playoff game, he was fielding punts against the Seattle Seahawks. So I know that the NFL has evolved since then, and I totally agree with you that I wouldn't call it malpractice to let him return punts for the sake of injury. But if you have a healthy DJ Moore and a healthy Keenan Allen, and they're the ones who are getting the first and second, volume of snaps, I'd say at least let him get one punt a game to see what he can do.
I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm not going to say they're never going to do it. But in college, he didn't do it a lot either.
Correct, yes. But in his short sample size, I've seen a couple punt returns for touchdowns. So I think it's something.
Did he have more than the one pick six? I mean, the one pick six is like viral, like it's everywhere. But did he have more than one pick six?
Are you talking return for a touchdown on a punt? I think it might just be a
return for touchdown. Yeah,
I can see if it's notated here whatsoever. I know obviously the one, and that's the one I'm referring to. I don't know if there's multiple.
Okay, so I'm not going to say it's impossible for him to do it. I'm saying it would be malpractice, just like you said, for them to stick him out there all the time. I do understand the why, though, because you've got Velus Jones, who historically has not done as well on punt returns as he has kick returns. Now,
Velus Jones is literally exiled from returning punts for the Bears from now on. That would be malpractice because you have multiple years proven of a football player losing football games. The Giants game, what have you.
1 year. We're going to have a disagreement here. How many fumbles did Velus Jones have last year?
So are you referring to just overall volume, including on the offense?
Everything.
I don't know. No. But I know that there's quite a lot of muffed punts in. I think that was only his rookie year. So it wasn't last year where he was muffing punts left and right.
No,
it was the year that earned them the number one overall pick.
The thing that everyone's pissed off about last year is he had the dropped wide open throw in the end zone, right on his chest.
And that's not a muffed punt. So yeah.
No, but it's still Butterfingers. So I get it. I get the stuff on Velus. I don't think they're done with him, but I do see Velus as the kick returner, where it's going to come to you. There's no pressure. Those guys can't even leave their side of the line until you touch the ball. You're going to have wide open. Okay, it's coming to me. Nobody's going to hit me. It's coming. I can catch it. Then I can run. I can see that being Velus's specialty. That more of a running back roll out of the backfield. So
yeah, it's weird. He's almost like a Cordero Patterson, and we don't know what the Bears truly have in store for him. So the team could have already told him, hey, you're going to be our wide receiver 7 at the best. Your only ability to make this roster is as a kick returner. And like you said, with the new rules, if he's able to train his body, he might even already be doing this, training his body to have a little bit more meat, keep his speed. And if he can catch that ball and get up to speed and become like a freight train, like a Cordero Patterson, I think that he would excel at that role, and you salvage your 3rd-round pick for him.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think that'll be his role this year. I don't think he'll even see the field a lot as a receiver. It'll be in returns. But going back to
have him line up as a running back and do a gadget, once every 4 games, fine. But yes, bread and butter is going to be kick.
Or even once or twice a game. That's the thing that ticked me off with Getsy was it worked in a game. He did a sweep out of the backfield. He's so freaking quick. He hits the corner and he goes 10 yards, gets a 10-yard pickup. well, let's not do that anymore. Let's go run another
Yeah.
screen because it doesn't work. So let's not do this. I mean, yeah, you got to give some plays. You got to mix it up so they're not seeing it coming.
And I don't want to pretend like I'm smarter than anyone in the NFL, but Luke Getsy, I think his strength was able to design plays. I think that his plays were fun and they worked when they worked, but unfortunately, a lot of them didn't work and he didn't know how to adapt. So if you have a Velus Jones lineup wherever, I like seeing the fake end arounds because you'll always see it to where it is a handoff. They'll have the wide receiver come around and fake it to him, but it's actually a handoff, and that's called a setup play. So if the offense can incorporate some of that, and if Velus Jones shows it on tape but doesn't actually do it, that might increase his success there too.
Oh, 100%. And Waldron is a master at that type of stuff. Nobody else lines up 2 tight ends in the backfield like that, creates crazy play schemes, then goes to the other side. He's going to be fun to watch.
And he has no restrictions at the quarterback position anymore either. So he's got a wide open book here.
Yeah. With Rome, though, on those returns, I can see it happening because of what we talked about with Velus Jones. But the other thing is we have Dante Pettis back too, and that's really his specialty is punt returns.
So does Dante Pettis really offer you anything as a wide receiver 4? I would hope he's a 5 because I'd like to see Tyler Scott elevate.
Oh, I'd say 5 behind Tyler Scott for sure.
So are you going to want one of your valuable roster spots to be another, is it Trenton Taylor, the wide receiver that they had, the infamous blocker?
He's not here anymore, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need that position refilled because that player essentially did nothing. I think that if you could squeeze value and have Odunze be your punt returner, have Tyler Scott be the backup in case you don't want, him to get hurt. I would like to see maybe the Bears move on from Dante Pettis as they did last year.
Oh, I don't like that. I like Dante Pettis as a wide receiver, though. I think he brings value. He's going to get very limited time, maybe 10% of snaps, but I think he gives a good mix, and I think he's got some value on the team as well, and he's a good punt returner, so I don't see him going away.
I like him. He obviously had that big bomb that he caught from Fields on Thursday Night Football against the Commanders, so he's got it in him. It's just, I guess Dan with BCP always mentions the QB PTSD. Yeah. I just don't want the Trenton Taylor PTSD here.
Yeah, I don't think they're the same player at all. All right, so we've got number 1, we've got Caleb Williams. Number 2, romeodunze. Who is your number 3 rookie that you're most excited about as we get back to our list now?
So the Bears potentially, I know, man, I'm blanking. They did obviously have a 3rd-round pick. It was Karan. But in their top 4 picks, the Chicago Bears this year may have came away with 3 blue-chip players. Now, I'm not excited to see a punter on the field, but Tory Taylor is the player that I'm 3rd most excited for from these rookies. Just because kickers are players too, man. I think that he's going to put the ball, wind, wet, rain, anything. It doesn't matter. I think that Tory Taylor is going to be consistent. I think that you're going to see a lot more coffin corners, which is going to end up to, I always think it's so exciting when they have the offense has to line up on their own 5 or below. And the defense, especially at Soldier Field, they get really amped. I think that you're going to see a lot more of those situations, and you're going to see a lot more weird score lines with a couple more safeties, maybe, just because this punter is that good.
I'm a little upset with Tory Taylor right now.
Why
because he's going to ruin my prediction. I put ungodly numbers up for Caleb Williams for my prediction, and I think Tory Taylor's going to single-handedly ruin that because he's going to pin teams back, and he's going to make it so we're getting the ball back in good field position and not being able to give Caleb Williams his 400-yard games because there's not enough field for him to get 400 yards out of. So he's going to make it – he's going to win the field position game for us and screw up my prediction of quarterbacks having ungodly numbers. He's going to ruin my season for me. That's obviously tongue-in-cheek.
As far as the beast goes, Dane Brugler, ironically, had Tory Taylor graded as a 4th-round talent.
Yeah.
The only other he's got a couple names that are essentially either a 6th or a 7th or a priority free agent, but this was a specialist that was not only ranked, but ranked high. And I think that speaks volumes, and I think the Bears got the player where he deserved to go.
Yeah, and when Hightower was talking right after the draft, he was saying other teams were upset with the Bears because they didn't see the Bears taking him, but Tory Taylor was very close to where their list was. And other teams would have taken Tory Taylor if we hadn't. There were several teams.
I remember you mentioned during our broadcast with the BCP as well, during the live stream, you said that the Bears maybe tried to trade back and no one was willing to. So the Bears were kind of forced into BPA. I think maybe they wanted to trade out of it, but they took the player that they thought was best at that point, and that was of course the punter.
Yeah, during the draft, that was me just speculating. There's no information there. That's not me saying that they did try, because I haven't heard anything about that since. But yeah, my speculation was, try to get another pick out of it if they're going to take a punter.
And I agree with that. Yeah,
but I don't know if they were. I think they were really sold on Tory Taylor. In fact, when you hear them talk about it afterwards, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, they were saying he was very high on their list and they wanted to correct it. And I didn't realize until, because I don't do a lot of deep diving under the punter. Now I've done a video on that since, on Tory Taylor and on the punter position. I didn't realize how bad we were. I didn't realize how bad Trenton Gill was. And last year they brought in the other punter to compete with Anderson. Was it Ryan Anderson, the left footer? And we all said that was just so we can get a left-footed punter to help Velus Jones. But the reality is they did bring in another punter to compete against Trenton Gill. Now, he didn't end up beating Trenton Gill out. Yeah. But Trenton Gill didn't. And I'm not bragging on Trenton Gill because I think he was fine, but he's not Tory Taylor. He's not the guy at rookie minicamp. Well, now I have heard there were a few shanked punts, but I probably just working on stuff, trying to get stuff. And he did say the wind bothered him. So he'll have to get used to it. But that one punt on video from rookie minicamp, man, when it went up, I really thought it went into orbit. I didn't see it come down the first time I watched it. I didn't see the little browns because I'm not used to seeing the hang time. It was something like 8 seconds hang time. Like, that was ridiculous. Like, it went up and it never came down. And then I saw the video angle come down. Then I saw it later, but I really thought it went into orbit. I thought they'd be looking for it at the International Space Station.
Yeah. Definitely. Well said. It's also really interesting to see that it's not just the length of the ball that's being kicked or how high he can get it, which is obviously important, but he's got such a grasp on what he does for a living. The ball is always spinning a particular way to make it hard to catch. And also, if the guy's just going to let it go behind him, that ball is not going to trickle into the end zone. He's trying to get it to go sideways or back towards him, and he's just a master at it. So I think you're going to see a lot more situations, like you said, like as a punter. I know they're trying to revive the kickoff to have that not be a misplay. I'm not going to miss any punts this year.
Well, they've actually talked about how he might do kickoff duty too. So they just barely.
I believe it.
This last week, he's got such a strong leg and he's so powerful. Usually your place kicker, your field goal kicker, is the one that's doing the kickoffs because it's set right there.
I can't remember. I don't know if Cairo has always been doing the kickoffs as a member of the Bears, but I can't remember if it was that they want the kicker to do the kickoff duties just to keep him ready for the longer field goals, or if it's the flip side of the coin where if you don't have him boom those kickoffs, he's got a little bit more juice in the tank to hit from 50 plus. So I don't know exactly how that is, but I would not be surprised either way.
I think a little bit of both, but the current NFL before 2024, you wanted your kicker to kick it out of the end zone. They're getting it at the 20-25 yard line.
And Cairo is really good at that.
But now you can't. It's a penalty if you kick it out of the end zone. You've got to land it between the 0. Where I don't remember where it ends, 10, 15 yard line.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on this. There's definitely a landing zone. The guy's going to be standing at a certain spot, and if it goes past his head, he's going to be coached to not do anything.
Yeah, they'll penalize. They'll come out to the 40 yard line to start off the drive, which is crazy. So it's going to be different to see, and I can see Tory Taylor doing those kickoffs because he's very good at placing the ball. So I think he could get that down.
Yep.
And put it right there. Excuse me. So I had Tory Taylor as my number 5. So I don't think what you said is crazy. It's just like you said, kickers are people too, but not quite moving the needle for me as exciting as some of the other rookies that we need. My number 3 was Austin Booker. And I don't think a lot of people are going to argue with that. Where was Austin Booker on your list?
I have Austin Booker. I wanted to lump him in with Karan just because I view Austin Booker more as a physical project. I have Austin Booker as my 5th player that I'm most excited for.
So we kind of flip-flopped those. I was 5th on Tory Taylor. You were so with Austin Booker, my number 3. I am so freaking excited about everything I'm hearing about, and then seeing him at rookie minicamp. He's already put 15 pounds on since the combine. And it's not fat weight. It's not food weight. It's weight. And that's exciting to see.
Like, what I wanted to say with that was I saw some people on Twitter kind of getting a little bit excited over the physique that the player has. And what you're pointing out with the added 15 pounds is very, very intriguing. He's more than likely bulking. And what I was comparing him to physically was a rookie Trevis Gibson. I thought that Trevis Gibson had a little bit more muscle definition. And as a physical prospect, I like that player more. But if that's true, 15 pounds in what is that? 2 weeks?
2 months since the combine.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, so a month and a half. Yeah.
Sure. So if he's in the process of adding on weight, which is what I think the issue with him was that he was light for his position, but he had some crazy production even as a rotational player.
Yeah, I actually went down to the Big 12 Pro Day just by happenstance. I happened to be in Dallas. I'm never in Dallas. That's actually my first trip ever to Dallas. And I went to the Big 12 Pro Day and I watched him. And it was interesting because there wasn't a lot of people there on day 2. That was the lineman day. The first day, I didn't go to the first day, which was your quarterbacks and your wide receivers and your specialty players. The linemen were day 2. But every time he walked onto the field, everyone gave a rounding ovation. Like everyone was very excited to see him. I was looking for Bears people, and I didn't see a lot, so I think most of their work was probably already done by then. But when he did his drills with the pads, with where he was doing his bend, all that bend you hear about, you could see that bend in him. He's got some hips. And it was even mentioned in his press conference where they talked to him, his legs. He's got long legs. Like he's very versatile. So you add that weight to him. And I don't know if you heard this part, but his coach that he's working with through the combine up to the draft. So that's probably who had him put on 15 pounds. His coach, I don't remember his name, but he's the same one that works with Max Crosby. So he got in touch with Max Crosby.
Yes.
And he actually got to speak with him. And that was exciting to hear because basically the top defensive end in today's game. I mean, you can lump 3 or 4 guys into that conversation. Myles Garrett and, Bosa and other players. So there's several that could be top. But, I mean, no one's going to dispute that Max Crosby is one of the best and very comparable arm length, very comparable body type. Now, Max Crosby has filled into his NFL frame, but I think that's what Austin Booker will do. And I think, were you telling me about Mr. Beast where they had him ranked? Because I had him ranked as a 3rd-round prospect for me. In fact, when the draft was happening, I put out a poll, and on that poll, I said, who would you like the Bears to take at 75? And I had Austin Booker as one of the options. And most fans that were Bears fans, obviously, that follow me, had Kieran Amagaji as the one we take, which is what we ended up doing. But Austin Booker got some votes there because I considered him right in the same range. I said he was going to go right in that same range as 75, and I was dancing. I was so elated when we traded back in. Like I couldn't have been happier to be able to trade back in when that happened.
It was fun to watch that as well live. Watch that pure emotion. Dane Brugler specifically had Austin Booker as the 9th highest prospect at defensive end for this year's draft, which equated to a 3rd-round grade. So I personally really like that the Bears got that pick back from Ryan Bates. So essentially, instead of a 5th for Ryan Bates, is it a 4th for Ryan Bates and Austin Booker? That trade feels awesome right now. I don't know. I like that a lot.
Yeah. you pair those two up and you make it sound like that. And it's a steal on the Bears' part. And how can you not be excited about it? But it worked out perfect for us to be able to trade it right back in there and to be able to snag him. I couldn't be any happier with him.
Yeah, all right. Specifically, Dane Brugler writes that he's lacking in body mass and overall experience, but he is an ascending player with the ability to maximize his athletic traits and body length force with proper biomechanics. So again, it all comes down to this player is going to be a good football player. Can he grow into his body? And it already sounds like he's doing every dang thing that he can to do that.
Yeah, and in those snaps, because I think I'm going off the top of my head here. I think he had 514 snaps total in college.
Close. Dane says 505.
505. Okay. So this is off the top of my head. I give myself a little credit for that.
Bears fans are good at that. There's a couple guys. Yeah, you're definitely one of the Rolodex guys. That's for sure.
I don't know about that because there's a lot of stuff I don't know. I feel very behind the game on some stuff. Like punters. Sure, I had no idea on the punter stuff. I really didn't. So it's experience. And I think he's in the perfect situation with DeMarcus Walker and with obviously Montez Sweat, but with whoever else because I do think we're still going to bring someone in. I just think we have to, but I don't know because there's someone we're going to mention later. I'm sure he's on your list too because he's very exciting to watch. But he might get more experience this year than we would think normally from a 5th rounder because of how high a prospect he was, being in our books a 3rd rounder. I'm sure the Bears had him high on their list too. Obviously, they took him. So I think he's
enough
going
to trade back in. Yeah, that's for sure.
So I think he's going to get some of that experience this year. He won't be your 1,000 snap guy. That's not even heard of, anyways. I mean, other than Montez Sweat, he could get 700, 800, but he could legitimately log 300-400 snaps this year as a rotational guy. I can see that happening. Then you'd really get excited about him after he gets some experience, and next year he could definitely take over from DeMarcus Walker and be number 2. Except I really expect us to pick a defensive end with our 1st round pick next year. Anyways, that's for another show.
So yeah, no, I like this. So Booker can be a starting defensive end for the Bears next year. Draft another one. Now you've got a 3-headed monster instead of just Montez Sweat. This is definitely where the Bears are going, and it's exciting to think about.
I like it. All right, so we both got Caleb. We both got Rome. You had Torrey Taylor. I had him later. I had Austin Book. You had him later. Who was your number 4 on your list?
So I will admittedly say this could be a reach. But when we decided to do this video, I wanted to think and find players who had essentially a consensus that they were going to be an NFL draft pick and ended up not making it. And then the Bears, of course, became a UDFA. So that player that I found was Keith Randolph. I believe he's a defensive tackle from Illinois. I don't think that this player is going to be Tommy Harris, superstar athlete that's going to blow you away. But the Bears have this really good run of UDFAs right now that become very good NFL football players. Started with Jack Sanborn. Now it's Tyson Bagent. We can talk about Bagent all you want, but if the Bears can turn that into anything, it's a huge win. And he won you some football games last year. Yeah. But with Keith Randolph, again, I'll let you handle the measurables if you've got those in front of you. But I was reading through the background that Dane Brugler has through the Beast. Some highlights there. His dad was a cop. He chose to go to Illinois to kind of represent the hometown hero vibe, which the Bears love as far as their actual Chicago Bears fans being football players for them. I don't know. I think that this is the player that maybe is going to not be super flashy, but as a rotational defensive lineman who you got as a UDFA, I think that this player is not a lock, but I'm really going to be watching him in all these preseason games coming up.
Yeah, so Keith Randolph, someone I'm not as high on. I've got him as my 8th on my list. So he's a little farther down, but still one of my top 10 on my list. I just can't get past the pressure rates for him. He's just not a strong pressure, and he misses tackles. He's built like a defensive tackle. He needs to fill into his body a little bit more, put a little bit more weight on to be able to fill that position. But I think a lot of people are excited because he's from Illinois. I'm just not super hot on him. I just know the position needs attention. We need more defensive line help. So I have him as number 8 on my list because we need the help there. I'm not going to be shocked if the Bears go out and trade or sign a defensive tackle at this point to be able to fill that 4th position because you really need 4. And you've got Andrew Billings, Gervon Dexter. I always say it wrong. Is it Gervon or Gervon?
I think it's Gervon.
Gervon. Someone said George in my comments. I get it like G, like George. So I get it wrong. I'm going to fix it, guys. I love his play. I love Gervon Dexter. And then Zach Pickens. We really need a 4th. Justin Jones is gone. I don't necessarily feel like Keith Randolph can be that guy from day one. I can see more of DeMarcus Walker coming in on some plays to fill that role. And then another guy I've got on my list, I'll mention him in a minute, very similar to DeMarcus Walker. So I'm not super – his just pressure rates, he was not generating pressure. And you talk about Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles talking about how your interior offense or defensive line needs to generate the pressure. That's not something that Keith Randolph really does. But bringing him into camp, get him in the 90-man roster, a shot, and more of a practice squad player to me. I still have him 8th on my list because I'd like to see them develop him. He's got the measurables, the size that he can fill into, but he needs some help. He needs some Eric Washington help, defensive line coach, specialist to be able to help him reach his potential. And then we'll see what we can do with him.
Yeah, and I've obviously never talked to this human being, but just from the synopsis I was able to read and anything I could find, it feels like Keith Randolph could absolutely be coached into not a superstar flashy athlete, but a very good 4th, 5th defensive tackle on your football team as a UDFA. I think that he has that potential in him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, we're going to jump to my number 4 My number 4 is Kieran Amagaji. And I loved Kieran Amagaji ever since I learned that he was coming in for a Bears top 30 and I started looking into him. The dude, even more after I saw the videos coming out from minicamp, he obviously didn't practice because he's got the lingering injury. He's going to be fine. I think he would have been drafted even higher if he didn't have the injury. Quad injury, if I remember correctly, he had a quad injury that held him out. Didn't have a full season because of it. They say he's going to be fine. Obviously, they drafted him. If his medicals didn't pass out, he wouldn't have been drafted in the 3rd round. But Kieran Amagaji, when I saw him in the videos and the pictures from minicamp, that dude is a beast. He is a big boy. Now, I saw his measurables, but you see some guys with those measurables who look a certain way. This guy looks like a Darnell Wright type of guy, where he looks like an actual refrigerator, where he looks like it's going to be hard for guys to get around him, and he is truly a grizzly bear. I am really excited to see what they can do with Kieran Amagaji. They've said he's going to be the rotational swing tight end, or I'm sorry, swing tackle, that he's going to be the guy that comes in on plays. And if Braxton Jones or Darnell Wright gets hurt, he'll fill in. I can see him getting some snaps to see how he does. Maybe it has to come in the blowout wins where we're up by 20 points, playing the Packers, where he has to come in and fill in for Braxton Jones.
Perfect team.
But I really see him getting some snaps this year, and he's a big boy. I'm excited to see because he's got a base too. He can handle the bull rush. He's built for the NFL, and I'm excited to see what he develops into.
Yeah, I went to the Bears game this past season against the Vikings, and I had a really good view of the play that the Fields injury, but the very first play where Braxton got blown past by Danielle Hunter for a sack, they put him on an island, and man, he just looked different, Braxton. So I know that as a human, he just looked bigger. So I absolutely agree with your statements on Karan, because Karan has very similar measurables to my understanding. So a stronger base, a big guy. I think that as a specimen, he's awesome. And that's exactly why I'm glad that it played out that way, because I didn't want the Bears to go like a very elite left tackle right off the rip. Yeah. At 9th overall. I don't think that would have made too much sense. But this is the perfect player to potentially replace Braxton, or set yourself up for a kind of having spoiled for choice, too many riches.
I like spoiled for choice. Where was Karan? I would say his name wrong there too. Where was Karan on your list?
I feel bad having Keith Randolph above these names, but I have Karan at 6th. Again, just going into it with the mental state that I'm excited for this football player moving forward, but I don't see him as a potential starter this year, right. And I view him more of a project similar to how I view Austin Booker.
Well, I don't think there's any wrong or right with the list, because Keith Randolph, it's a need. We do not have, I'll bring it back up, we do not have right now a 4th defensive interior. I don't consider Byron Cowart the answer for our 4th defensive interior. No. So really, there's going to be either someone we bring in, or one of these guys is going to win that 4th slot role. So
exactly. So that's why I had Keith so high, is that I'm looking for that battle. It's going to be a little bit more hunger for that 4th defensive lineman, 5th defensive lineman spot. So exactly.
Totally understand that. So where are we on your list? Who's the next guy on your list then?
We don't have to spend too much time at 5. You've already covered it, Mr. Austin Booker. Very excited for that player. Again, a little bit of a project. And then I think I just said my 6th. I'd be happy to say my 6th.
Your 6 was Karan?
Karan, yes.
All right, so my 6, since we haven't got to my 6 yet, my 6 I'm sure is going to be on your list too. Jamry Chroma. Is he on your list?
Yes, absolutely.
Where's he at on your list?
I've got Jamry at 7.
Okay, so we're right in the same range. I did a video on Jamry, and my goodness, I feel you're going to have to, I haven't even asked, we haven't talked about this beforehand, guys. What does Mr. B say about Jamry Chroma?
So unfortunately, he's Dane Brugler has the same sentiment as yourself. You weren't scouting for this player. You only are really aware of him because he went to the Bears. But Jamry was the 42nd rated defensive end.
Defensive tackle is where he was graded at, but I think he's more of a defense. He played 2/3 of his snaps at defensive end and 1/3 interior. He's that in between where it makes it hard to grade him, because he's not quite big enough for defensive tackle, but he's not as elite speed for defensive end, but his burst, my goodness, his 10-yard split is phenomenal. He's got a burst to him.
Yeah, so Brugler for the Beast has Jamry ranked as a defensive edge rusher, not a tackle.
Which is where he should be, because he took 2/3 of his snaps there, and 1/3 were on the interior.
And then without ever seeing this player really not watching too much of his film, rather, just his RAS, all those physical tools are going to be, in my opinion, much more suited for a defensive edge rusher.
Yeah, so the RAS changes where you play positions. I know everyone's excited because his RAS at defensive tackle is like 9.6 or something. But if you move him out to the edge, I did it. You can do it on the RAS builder. If you move him out to the edge, it's just below 8. So he's in that in between, is what I'm saying. He's built elite for defensive tackle, but not quite for defensive end. I think with coaching though, he's going to be perfect because his burst. That's the thing. I watched so much tape on him. I made a video that actually ended up getting a ton of views because everyone's excited about him. When his first kick, you saw the issue with Gervon Dexter last year, where everyone was talking about he was a little too high and he didn't quite get off the ball quite as quick as he should. It's the opposite with Jamry Croma. Jamry Croma, as soon as that ball is snapped, he's the first guy that's moving, and my goodness, he can move. And he probably needs to build some more moves he can use to work with Montez Sweat, like Gervon did. Gervon did last year when Montez Sweat got traded to us. But having Eric Washington and being able, I see him making the 53-man roster to me. Now, I was wrong last year with Travis Gibson and Terrell Smith. I thought, or not Terrell Lewis. Sorry, Terrell Smith is the defensive back. But I thought we'd keep Terrell Lewis. I was wrong. So I could be very wrong about Jamry Croma. He could be someone we stick on the practice squad. But either way, I see him making the team in some facility, in some way. If it's not the 53, I think he'll make the practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, Jamry, I'm liking the idea now as a 3-tech because you already touched on it where the Bears really want that explosion. They want the 3-tech to kind of dominate on the inside. And again, is maybe not a player who has to come in and start from day one, get him familiar with the system, allow him to grow into his NFL body at that position. And he obviously has the physical tools. So I would not be surprised whatsoever if Croma makes your 53-man roster for the Bears.
Yeah, and the Bears like that versatility. He's got long arms, 36-inch arm. I mean, he's just a physical specimen. So if he can follow a DeMarcus Walker type of role where, yeah, they kick him out outside for some snaps if they need to, or he plays the majority inside because Austin Booker's developing really well and we don't need that rotation as much. I don't know. I really think there's a place card for him on this team that he could make it. So my number 6, your number 7, I think we're right in line there. And I think he could really make an impact on this team. I think we might've found a diamond in the rough there.
I sure hope so.
All right. So who's your next one? Your number 8. Who's your number 8 on your list?
I put down Brandon Bates. Not specific to Bates. He was the 22nd ranked tight end prospect according to the Beast coming out of college this year. But just more so for kind of like what we mentioned with Sweeney, I think that the 3rd tight end position for the Chicago Bears is going to be valuable this year. So if Brandon Bates can carve out some sort of role, even as a rookie, maybe he'll be a practice squad player that becomes a 53-man player down the line. I would not be too surprised. And again, is going to be a player that I'm going to try and keep my eye on during these preseason games.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I have that as number 10 just because I'm not super hot on Brendan Bates.
Yeah.
But I also have Tommy Sweeney grouped in with him now. I just have it as my 10th on my list because we have to have a 3rd tight end and possibly a 4th. You might see one of these running backs cut to make a 4th tight end spot on the roster. Who knows? But right now it's a lacking position for us. Either way, both those guys, what sticks out with them is they're blocking tight ends. They're not necessarily going to be the guys that you have to have the sticky hands for, and that might take time to develop anyways. But Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet got that locked down. When you need your receiving tight end, stick those guys in there because they're both elite. And then Brandon Bates and Tommy Sweeney, they can come in on blocking downs. It's going to tip your hand a little bit, so we'll see what happens. It'd be nice to bring Mercedes Lewis back because he can catch the ball. Big dog in the end zone last year, had the wide open one. He didn't drop anything. So it'd be nice to have Brendan Bates or Tommy Sweeney develop into that for us. But like you said, that big X right there is because we have no one to fill that role right now. I don't think Steven Carlson's the answer. He was kind of the same thing as Tommy Sweeney, I think. I think he was a veteran tryout last year, and we ended up signing him to the roster after the rookie minicamp tryouts. So Tommy Sweeney could do the same thing. He could possibly be on the practice squad, or Brennan Bates could as well. We'll see what happens when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot real here. Is Steven Carlson from the Seahawks, and does he have familiarity with Waldron?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
I'm almost positive that there was a Carlson for the Seattle Seahawks who played as a tight end, and I don't know if that's our Carlson. But I'm gonna
Carlson being from the. Let's look it up.
I could be very well could be off the mark here. But I think I'm agreeing with you too. That I made a little bit of a mistake, and I'll correct that in a second here for our excitement for these rookies. But the third tight end position is valuable, and the more you say it, I think that Mercedes Lewis would be the perfect third tight end for the Chicago Bears. But I don't know if he's mulling over retirement or what the actual deal is with.
No, he said Lewis. He wants to play. He said, I've got juice in the tank. I want to come back. I think it's just a matter of a team signing him later on. He's not a guy that's going to want to be to OTAs anyways.
Correct. Yeah, he's going to be sitting at home rehabbing, doing what he's done to get this long NFL career out of his body.
No,
and
Steven
he's going to
Carlson.
assess. Go ahead.
Steven Carlson was with the Browns. That's where he was from.
Okay, I'll do my homework and see what Carlson I'm referring to, or I could just be totally schizo here, but we'll see.
It happens. It happens, man. I'm with you on that, though. And let's move on to one that I'm very excited about, and I think he's on your list now too. I don't know if he was before, but we alluded to him before when we talked about returns, and now I get a chance to bring him up. He's my number 7 on my list, Ian Wheeler. And what stuck out to me when I started doing research on him and when I made the video for him, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. The video on Ian Wheeler, all these guys that Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus are bringing in, they're team players, high character, high caliber, hardworking, but classy guys. And this dude just screams maturity, screams hard work, screams gonna just freaking get it done because he knows he's fighting for his position. He started playing football because his mom loved football, and his hero growing up, when they were interviewing him, they talked about, trying to pin him down because he was a Saints fan growing up, grew up in the area. Who was your hero growing up? They were trying to allude to different players, and he just kept saying, my mom. My mom's my hero. And I just thought Mother's Day, that was perfect. And I assumed that he was just a kick returner, because it even said that when we signed him as an undrafted free agent, kick returner next to it. It said running back, it said kick returner. But the thing was at Howard, he was just underutilized. He averaged over 6.5 or right around 6.5 yards per attempt. He just wasn't getting the touches. Very similar to Roschon Johnson, where you like that when they come to the NFL, because then the tread is not taken off the tires.
Exactly. That's what you're looking for out of a UDFA running back is, was he beaten into the ground, or does he have some tread on the tires? Just very quickly to prepend my list, I have Ian Wheeler as my 8th. So bumping down the tight end I just discussed, because I think that this player with his speed is exciting. And again, like you said, having a little bit more tread on the tires, I don't think the Bears could go wrong with having 3 or 4 running backs on the roster. It would be 4, right? Because Swift is going to make the roster. I assume Khalil Herbert's going to make this roster. And then you've got Roschon Johnson as your 3rd. So did they go into the year with 4 running backs last year, or was it only 3 and a fullback?
They went in with 5, with 4 and a fullback. Yeah. So
4 and a fullback? Yeah. So that situation could definitely play out again.
The thing is, with Waldron's offense, I don't know if we're going to keep a fullback. I don't know if Blazingame's job is secure. He could very. I
think I heard Waldron talk recently, and he did mention Kari's name. So we'll see, but it could also be a smoke.
What did he say? I missed that. What did he say about?
He just specifically mentioned him as far as their stable of backs, and he essentially referred to him as a running back, almost saying that he has the ability. So I don't know if that's a smoke screen, and he would be like your. Because again, with Waldron, I mentioned that I've seen a tight end lineup at fullback. They might just like what Kari has as a leader, a special teamer, and have him play that position. And he could be considered like the 4th running back. I'm not too sure though.
Yeah, Travis Homer's job's on the line too, and he's owed money, so we could save some money by cutting Travis Homer. Who knows where it falls? But I think Ian Wheeler has a legit shot with his return abilities. he had
That's
three
going to be the key. Yeah.
over his career taken to the house, and that was on very limited snaps. Like he took 3 returns to the house, and when he did it, I had video on the video. I had film on the video that I made of him. He knows how to break a tackle. He knows how to make a jump cut. He knows how to elude guys, and he's got sub 4.4 speed. So, and he's not small. I mean, he's 5'10", and he's over 200 pounds. He knows how to book it. He knows how to move, and he's fun to watch. And he's very mature. He was going into the medical field, so he's not a dummy. I love everything about Ian Wheeler. I see him making the team.
You've got Ian Wheeler with a sub 440
Wasn't
or 4.4. The Beast here references that his 40 time is 4.58.
Oh,
I know with these players who they don't have specifically dialed in, this is kind of like a best of the rest list that I'm referencing. I've seen some crazy variations with times, especially with I think it was either Kool-Aid McKinstry or one of the Alabama cornerbacks. They didn't do anything at the combine, but they did something at their pro day, and you can have variations of almost like 10th and a half speed, 0.15 seconds.
I gotta hurry and pull it up here because I'm pretty sure he's a 4.39. Ian Wheeler, I've got it pulled up here. His official RAS, he has 4.39 speed.
So again, I believe you. There's always going to be some variations with that, but what it'll boil down to is if he gets one of these kickoffs with a little bit of extra space and he can get some, a full head of steam, it's going to be exciting. And again, another player definitely looking out for him. Yes, sir.
All right. We've gone over most of them so far. Do you have anybody left on your list that we haven't covered?
I had Theo Benedict that I'm bumping down because of Ian Wheeler, so I'd be at my 10th spot. Did you reference your 7, 8, 9 already?
So my 7 was Ian Wheeler. My 8 was Keith Randolph, who you touched on earlier.
Right, okay, you said that.
My 9 I haven't done yet, and my 10 was the tight end position. With Brandon Bates and Tommy coming in and getting signed now. So I have my 9 left. Who do you have left?
I am going to have my 10th is the only player I haven't said yet because I had Brendan Bates, I said at 8, and then Ian Wheeler at 9, but I'm flip-flopping that. Not that it matters. But the last player I haven't gone over is the quarterback that they brought in, Austin Reed.
Okay.
So I'll reference some things here from the Beast as well. But the reason that I wanted to mention his name is just that it felt like in the past, the Bears, especially with Ryan Pace, they would say, okay, we're going to draft a quarterback each and every year until we have our guy. And what did they do? They took Trubisky, and that was it. They filled in with some veterans, overpaid for Mike Glennon, what have you. And then Poles, I don't know if he was quoted on saying the same thing, but it's just so refreshing to see the Bears actually take a proactive approach for the quarterback. They obviously found a gem, in my opinion, with Tyson Bagent. Yeah. Not that he's a star, not that he deserves to be starting over Caleb Williams, anything crazy like that. But you found some success through UDFA with a quarterback. Why stop? I think that what they're trying to do is replace the Tyson Bagent role, which they initially envisioned was their practice squad quarterback. And now they don't have that player, and they're not just going to fill in with a Nathan Peterman, anyone like that. They might have a third quarterback if you reference it here. Okay, Brett Ripien. So yep. Brett Ripien is probably going to be your hold the clipboard, essentially your film room guy as your third quarterback. But Austin Reed, I think, could be your practice squad quarterback. And I don't want to say sky's the limit, but you'd hope that there's some untapped potential there.
Do you think Austin Reed will get stolen from the practice squad?
I don't know, man. It would be hard to say that he would. I think that what will dictate that is his, just like what we saw with Bagent. Bagent stole the show with his play. He was put into he put the Bears into a position where they couldn't risk it. And I can only hope that Austin Reed does that. So the Bears say, okay, you're on our 53-man roster, and someone gives up a 7th or something for him.
Austin Reed was highly touted. Austin Reed was
the Beast has him as a 6th to 7th round draft pick. Yeah. And he obviously was not picked. Was
the number 1 ranked offensive quarterback that was undrafted. So when the undrafted popped up, I started looking at all the guys that were available, and right off the bat, Austin Reed popped out. He was the number 1. Same thing as Tyson Bagent, put up really, really good numbers, but his downfall was Western Kentucky, small school, and he came out in a year where it was very solid at the top of the draft class for quarterbacks. So all these teams that needed quarterbacks took him right off the bat. Yeah. In fact, the Patriots took Drake May and Joe Milton. So
That's correct. A
two
la
guys.
the team that is now known as the Washington Commanders. Same strategy rather, with 2 rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, now obviously Drake May will start there, but he's developmental as well. But I mean, high end, very, very high end developmental. But Austin Reed's not a scrub. Very, very, very similar thing to Tyson Bagent last year. Small school, big numbers, big arm, a lot of things to like about him, good measurables. And I see him being someone that we might not be able to. And the difference is there were so many good quarterbacks taken. I think teams are pretty set with their quarterbacks that nobody's really going to have to steal from the practice squad this year. But Austin Reed could be that guy that you might have to carry on the 53-man roster. And Brett Rippon might be the guy that we have to cut. And I don't know if Brett Rippon's necessarily necessary for us. He's a good, like you said, a good quarterback room presence. He can understand film. He's been in the league for 4 years now, 5 years. I don't know how many years he's been in the league.
And he came from the Rams, yes.
Yeah. Back up.
It's the McVay effect. If someone that you know bagged McVay's groceries, you want him in your NFL facility.
Well, especially since McVay and Shane Waldron were in the same coaching tree. So they very similar style. Yes. And he's going to understand the concepts right off the bat, and he can explain them and share his notes with Caleb Williams. So I don't know if Brett Rippon is someone that we have to keep around past camp. Like, he might be someone that gets cut when we cut down to 53-man roster. And if Austin Reed is killing it, he might be someone we have to carry on the 53 as well, like we did with Tyson Bagent last year, where it was a necessity thing, so nobody stole him, because that's what happened.
So what is the Las Vegas Raiders quarterback room looking like right now?
Well, they've got – you asked me because I live in Vegas. That's funny. I do actually keep up on it a little bit because I can look out this window right here. I'd have to stand up and look around the corner. I can see the practice facility. I live real close to the Raiders practice facility. It's cool. I mean, it's a quarter mile away, but there's nothing between me and it. You can see it's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Aiden O'Connell, Pierce just said in their press conference, Aiden O'Connell's probably going to be the starter to start the year because of the work he put in the offseason, which is a big deal. But they signed Gardner Minshew. So everybody kind of assumed Gardner Minshew would be the starter because he did that for the Colts last year. But the Raiders have said Aiden O'Connell did enough to make himself the day one starter. And he was a similar – I don't remember if he was a late round pick last year or round 4 pick. I don't remember where
Aiden O'Connell, if I had something to my head here, I think he was a 4th round pick.
4th round. Okay. So he wasn't quite a late round pick, but he was later on 4th round pick. He did okay. I mean, he had spurts of good flashes last year, but a lot of negative. It's one of those experience things, though. You have to get the experience to learn how to play the game, and maybe his sophomore season will be better for him. But you saying the Raiders are going to steal Austin Reed from us? Is that what you're saying?
My thought process here was, and Gardner Minshew, unfortunately, is poking a huge hole in this. But the idea is just that if you have a team with a quarterback that is not too good, and they're kind of just mulling along to see what happens, what would stop a team from trying to trade just a little something for a Tyson Bagent?
Well, I don't think. I think that rumor floated around, and I think the Bears said something where they shut that down and said he's not for sale.
Tyson Bagent?
Yeah.
That's good. And hopefully
you have to have a good backup in the league.
Yes, this is very, very true. And again, with Austin Reed, maybe that's the player that can develop. I just want to think bigger picture and kind of churn out some like how the Eagles always say that they want to be a quarterback factory. I don't know if the Bears can ever become that, but what I would like is for Tyson Bagent to become a day 3 or better draft pick.
It could happen. I mean, especially when rookies are on their 3-year deals. The problem is he has to get paid. I don't know if anyone's going to pay him sitting behind Caleb Williams when they sign him, but he's a restricted free agent, so we could match it. We could probably trade for a late round pick for him after his 2nd year. Or we could, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with Tyson Bagent, because he's got the stuff to develop. I would think he's someone that's probably just going to move on. We're not going to match a restricted offer. Because that's what undrafted free agents are, is they're restricted free agents after their 3rd year. They only get 3-year contracts.
Okay.
For the league minimum. So like 3 years less than 3 million total for those 3 years, and usually no guarantee in there, very little guarantee. So I would see him being someone just that moves on, which is kind of sucky. But at the same time, if he really continues to develop, he deserves a place to go and get a chance somewhere.
Yeah, you hope that the Bears are just so overly dominant that he can start to see some game time at the end of the season when they're resting their starters, whatever. Again, dream scenario, what have you.
Hall of Fame game, baby. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what he does.
I am too. With all the guys in our lists, I mean, I don't know if we'll be seeing the high-end guys too much, but
Nah. Some of these undrafted guys, and Tyson will get a start, and then probably Austin Reed will play most of that game. Probably Brett Rippon in there a little bit.
Exactly. So I'm very happy that the Bears have the extra Hall of Fame game, the 4 preseason games as they used to. Just any more snaps for these guys is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, August 1st. I think the only guy we haven't mentioned now, which is number 9 on my list, which I understand completely why he wouldn't be on your list at all, because it's not a position of need at all. So the shot of him making the roster is very low. But I see him being a practice squad guy. They could very easily develop and take over someone else's job, and that's Reddy Stewart, cornerback. Now, Reddy, I've got the tape on him. I've put tape together. I haven't made a video on him yet. The problem with Reddy is I've seen a couple plays where he takes off, where he doesn't have the hits principle, where he's not in there on every play.
Yeah, that does not sound like something the Bears would like.
But when he does, he hits, and he's a ball hawk. I mean, he's fun to watch when you see his tape. I'm going to put something out on Reddy Stewart. I think he makes the 53-man roster. If not, well, the problem is, here's the problem. You've got too much depth there. You've got Tyreek Stevenson, Jalen Johnson, and Terrell Smith there. And then you got at nickel, Kyler Gordon and Greg Stroman. But Reddy can really play that nickel position as well. But you've got Jalen Jones there that can play corner or safety. You've got Josh Blackwell. I mean, we're a really stacked secondary. And
yeah, man. I remember seeing Stroman, Jalen Jones, and Josh Blackwell essentially overperform for their role in the year that the Bears earned the first overall pick now 2 years ago. And you obviously have that high-end talent above that. Just seeing this graphically is almost stunning.
Yeah. It's so much fun to see. And then you brought in Kevin Byard, Jonathan Owens, which I'm glad because Elijah Hicks was terrible, in my opinion. I don't think he'll make the roster at all this year. I think he'll go somewhere else and get a chance because he had some big highlight plays, but, I mean, he was a liability. I think last year, I'm not going to say it, I don't think he had a stopped pass. I think they were 100% when passing against him, which at the safety position can be kind of hard, but he didn't really do anything to break him up. He didn't do anything in coverage. His NFL passer rating against him was like 150, which is crazy. So I don't see Elijah Hicks staying on the team. Quindale Johnson, we stole last year from the Rams, but and what was our 7th rounder's name that we selected as a safety? We ended up letting him go to pick up Quindale Johnson.
He's already been let go. He was from Minnesota
2 years ago. 2 years ago. What was his name?
Yeah, me stumped here. So the Bears 2023 draft class?
2022. Yeah, 2023 draft class.
Let's see who's faster. I think you've got me beat.
No, I'm still looking.
Are you referring to Kendall Williamson?
Yeah, Kendall Williamson.
Now, isn't he from Minnesota?
I don't remember where his school was. Is that where he's from?
I thought so, but you're saying Kendall Williamson is obviously no longer a member of the Bears.
Oh, he hasn't been for a long time. He wasn't before last season. Like last season, we picked up Quindale Johnson from the Rams. We claimed him off of waivers before August 1st. So right as teams were cutting, we claimed him, and because they had reduced their roster and put him on the practice squad. So when teams cut down from 90 team to 53, which they have to do before the season starts, Quindale Johnson was there. And the risk is when you cut your roster down before you make your practice squad, the team with the number 1 pick is first in order, and then you have claims. And the Bears had the number 1 claim last year. Now the Panthers will have it this year, even though we had the number 1 pick. They had the number 1 position. Right. So the Panthers could steal people's players first, and that's who we stole. That's who we wanted was Quindale Johnson. And we snagged him, and we let go of Kendall Williamson.
Interesting. Yeah, and to correct myself, Kendall Williamson is not from Minnesota. He's from Stanford.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, and then we picked up Tarvarius Moore. I mean, we got a stacked room. We've got a deep defensive secondary.
Yeah, Jeff Joniak, he's the voice of the Bears.
Yeah.
He loves to point out special teams effort, which again, I like that as well. But he specifically always talks about how scrappy and downright good Jalen Jones and Josh Blackwell are at special teams.
Yeah,
so
and Jalen Jones can play both your strong safety and nickel and a corner. I mean, he's just
Jalen
versatile.
Jones has came in for Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, he's versatile. He can play anywhere on the secondary, which makes him very valuable. So I don't see us getting rid of Jalen Jones at all.
No.
Yeah, so Reddy Stewart will have a hard time making the roster, but he's someone I've liked off of the film that I've seen. So that's why he was my number 9. But I could easily agree with you on Austin Reed, having Austin Reed in the top 10 instead, because I see a long-term position for him. We'll go back over to here, where Brett Rippon, I don't think, makes the roster with where we stand, other than his knowledge of the game.
Brett Rippon is going to be that, how do I say, the 54th member of the roster, where he's essentially, they implemented that new rule as well, essentially allowing you to carry a third quarterback. I can't explain it very well.
But they have to be on your 53-man roster, though. So that
they have to
be on your 53-man roster still. Yeah.
Okay.
So how it works from last year, I know a lot of people didn't understand that one, is you can only dress 40. Man, I got to re-adequate myself. 46 guys for game day. Maybe it's 40. It's 48. You can only dress.
It's not 53 because they always announce the players not dressing, the healthy scratches.
It's 48. I'm almost positive it's 48. So you dress
sounds
48 guys, and the difference is with this new rule is your third quarterback doesn't have to be one of those 48. He can be there on the sideline, but the only way he can enter the game is if your first and second quarterbacks are unable to play anymore, if they're not able to go. So they literally have to be injured before your 49th spot, who has to be on your 53-man roster, is able to come into the game. So,
but the moral of that story is that Brett Rippon couldn't be that player while also not being on the 53.
No, he's got to be on the 53. Yep, whoever that third quarter. So we will carry 3 quarterbacks. With that new rule,
yes,
you're always carrying 3 quarterbacks. That's why I said in the beginning, is Austin Reed, is it too scary to put him on the practice squad when he was the number 1 sought after? He was the highest rated undrafted free agent quarterback, and we've taken that 2 years in a row. And man, the thing we didn't mention, Tyson Bagent, his offseason routine, his workouts, he's put on weight too. And I don't have any official stuff on that. I don't have any official numbers, how much weight he's, but he looks stacked. He looks ready to go. And I like it. I like him coming in. And his attitude is right. They interviewed him on NBC Sunday night in Chicago. They interviewed him and his dad together. He had the right mentality. He said, look, I understand my role. I'm not competing for the starting job, but I have a place to play, and I'm going to keep myself ready. And one day I'm going to get my shot, but I'm going to make sure I'm eyes and ears for Caleb, and I'm going to do my best for him. And I'm going to keep myself sharp and active, because that's the role I have to play, is always being ready to come in no matter what. And I love that.
Yeah, if that's any sort of indictment on Eberflus staying as the Bears head coach this year, I think that story alone is perfect. That's exactly what you want to hear out of your backup quarterback. Not saying, "Oh, why am I not being the guy?" Why am no pouting, but just staying ready. Also, got to ask, make sure Shorty's not in your ear, right? He's not telling you to say these things about.
Shorty and I have a good time joking about that. I felt bad.
Saw that workout video one time, man.
I felt bad when he even brought up that Tyson Bagent could be the starting quarterback to start the year, and I was just like, no, we're not going there. And I almost put him in his place, and I was just like, oh, I feel bad. I'm on your show, and I did that. But it was like, no, let that stuff die now. And that's the other funny thing. Twitter and Bears World is so, what's the right word? Because it's fun, it's exciting, but they get carried away with stuff. And it's not just Bears fans, like the headlines. As soon as they were in the press conference and they asked the question to Matt Eberflus, they said, is there any question about Caleb Williams starting week 1? And he said, no, not even a conversation. Like, he shot it down. And all of a sudden the headlines come out. The Bears announced that Caleb Williams is starter week 1. The Bears announced. And it's just like
it's a big deal.
He wasn't holding a press conference to say, we are making Caleb Williams the starter week 1. He was saying, this isn't even a conversation. Like, he's the starter.
Lovie Smith type vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so funny to
Caleb
see
is
how
our quarterback.
Yeah. It's just, everything gets kind of blown up right now. But like even with romeodunze and his hamstring, oh, he's injured. He's going to be the next Kevin White. Oh, we just
Kevin White starts cycling around. It's the dry season, man. It comes with the territory, and social media at the end of the day can sometimes be just a big game of telephone. If a Bears reporter tweets out something, a one-liner, Caleb is our quarterback, that can be twisted any which way. So I think a lot of us can all agree that the Hall of Fame game cannot come soon enough.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. There's going to be a little lag between there.
Take your vacations, take your time off, because hey, right now we've only got what did I say? Is it 84? We got 84 on the roster. There's going to be 6 more signings. I expect some of those. Hey, even before we release the show, there might be another signing. So who knows?
We could be totally off the mark here. Yeah, Ngakwe could be a Chicago Bear. There could be another cut. A Carl Lawson is a name you mentioned that I like a lot.
I'm going to throw my headgear again. If
Ngakwe is signed,
gotta scrap the video.
I'm going to be upset because I really think
Austin Booker and Jamrick Chroma.
Yeah, Carl Lawson could come in. I just don't, with that injury history, I don't know if they will. But I've advocated that too. I think it's a value signing as long as they don't sign him for more than like $3 million. With where things are lining up and how things are happening, I really think Mo Ali Cox to me is my number 1 target right now.
I like that name. Yeah.
That's not going to happen until the Colts cut down. But if a lot of people don't understand why I keep saying that, the Colts are overloaded at tight end position, and they just got there. I don't know their roster as well as ours, but I know there was a really highly rated tight end that they had that was injured all last year, and now he's back healthy. And Mo Ali Cox, if they cut him, I do this research for whatever stupid reason because I want to know who's available. If they cut him, they don't have any salary cap hit. He's a 0 salary cap hit. So he's like the prime cut candidate for them with only a year left on their roster.
It sure sounds like it.
And he would be the perfect fit to be our tight end 3. I just don't know how expensive he would expect to be. Mercedes Lewis could. But we're lining up where if we cut Travis Homer, if we make the right moves, we really could sign Connor Williams after week 10 or 11. I guess it would come down to how Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates do, but I really think it's becoming more and more of a possibility that we could get a long-term deal done for Connor Williams as long as he's healthy, as long as he heals all the way, pairing up a vet with your rookie quarterback, and I realize it wouldn't be from day one, but you're still, if you sign the right deal, get him cheap this year for $6 million for the last 6 games of the season, plus $13 million a year for the next 4 years. He's only 26 years old. Pair him up with Caleb Williams, that I can't think of anything I would be more excited about than that happening.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Jackson Powers Johnson. I think he's a great player. I know I made that joke with you on Twitter. But I agree that I think that this quarterback being young, it would only make sense to pair him with a veteran. And I think that's why the Bears like their Shelton/Ryan Bates room right now, is because they want the quarterback to have the experience of the center. By chance, did the Bears sign any sort of UDFA center, any sort of project there?
Not yet.
That's a shame.
This
draft was really, go ahead.
You're going to see one signed. Let's pull that back up.
So I mentioned it because I know that this draft class was considered to have a very good. The centers were not top end heavy, but more projects. And I was really hoping the Bears could come away with at least one of those guys. But
there were some elite centers, and then after that, there's some projects for sure. So I could have seen us possibly. I even said in the UDFAs, I kind of thought we would take one, and we didn't. So it kind of surprised me a little bit. I would like to see what's going to happen there, but I think right now they're comfortable rolling into the season with Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates and Doug Kramer staying on the practice squad. I think that's where we are, but not having a third center option, I don't know. I don't know what we end up doing there. So I think you got 84 roster spots filled. You got 6 more to go before the 90-man roster. Obviously, I think there's going to be a center somewhere in there. It's just them trying to find the right one for the fit.
And I still feel very strongly that there's a name that we just simply cannot come up with in our heads. I like the Mo Ali Cox. That's a good one. But there's going to be a player like that we just cannot wrap our minds around who's going to become available to the Bears. And if they decide to sign or if the fit's perfect, whatever the case is, there's going to be a little bit more shakeup before even the preseason games start.
Yeah, you're going to
See the cuts happen.
and
Yep.
middle of the off season, that's when you'll see some stuff happen. So,
Exactly.
all right. So we've done our top 10. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Let us know someone you would have added out of the Bears undrafted free agents, out of the rookies, out of all of them, because there's 17 total. Let us know what you guys think. We're going to wrap it up because we've been going for a little while. Karl, I want to thank you for coming on. Any last words you want to say for everyone? Please, if you guys haven't, go over to Thy and Smi. Go subscribe to them. Watch some of their videos. You won't regret it. Any last thoughts, Karl?
No, just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I'm a big fan, so it's an honor. And just again, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. I think we'll do this more than once for sure. You're very
would sure hope
knowledgeable.
so.
I love yucking it up with you, having some bear stock. So thanks for coming on. We'll wrap this up for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please, if you haven't hit the like button, do that. And until next time, we'll end it off with a bear down. 1, 2, 3.
Bear down.
down.